Before you close out an AI coding session, give the agent one final job. Turn whatever's unfinished into a continuation point that someone else can trust. When work stretches across multiple sessions, that last instruction shouldn't pressure the agent to finish everything at any cost. That's usually the wrong target. Instead, ask it to make incremental progress and leave the repository clean for whoever comes next. It's a small change in wording, but it changes the goal from maximum generation to a dependable handoff. The next session or the next developer should find work that has genuinely moved forward, without becoming needlessly hard to understand. So, in this tutorial, we're going to build that instruction one piece at a time. By the end, you'll have a reusable clean handoff pattern built around scoped progress, automated feedback, version control clarity, and a clean continuation point. Now, to be clear, this isn't a guarantee that unfinished work is correct or complete. It's a practical way to make that work easier and more reliable to continue. A clean handoff instruction works best when the development process around it can actually support what you're asking for. AI can generate changes quickly, but that speed needs to be paired with automated tests, mature version control, and rapid feedback. Those practices help reduce downstream instability because they make each change easier to evaluate, understand, and trace. The assignment matters too. Start agentic development with work that's well-scoped instead of handing the agent a vague, undefined objective and hoping it finds the right boundary. Then, experiment with task structures and prompt formats to learn what works for your particular codebase. In a practical sense, these are prerequisites. The final prompt can ask for a clean continuation point, but the repository and the workflow still need mechanisms that make that request meaningful. Think of the prompt as directing a feedback system that already exists. It tells the agent how to approach the stopping point. Meanwhile, tests, version control, and review help show whether the resulting progress is understandable and genuinely ready for someone to continue. Step 1 is keeping the instruction short and scoped. Persistent AI coding instructions should be self-contained and limited to the repository, path, or organization where they're meant to apply. That gives the agent a boundary it can actually use without turning one handoff message into a huge tutorial on prompt specifications. A short instruction is easier to preserve, easier to reuse, and easier to evaluate. When we say self-contained, we mean the instruction communicates its essential expectation without relying on a long chain of assumptions nobody wrote down. And when we say scoped, we mean it identifies exactly where the behavior applies, instead of presenting every project rule as if it were universal. For an end-of-session handoff, concentrate on 3 things: the applicable scope, the immediate assignment, and the stopping condition you want. You don't need to retell the project's entire history. You just need enough context for the agent to make one coherent next increment and get the repository ready for continuation. So brevity doesn't mean stripping away information the agent needs. It means making sure the real handoff objective doesn't get buried under everything else. Step 2 is saying explicitly that you want incremental progress. If the work has to continue later, the agent should optimize for a coherent advancement, not for something that merely looks totally complete. A useful increment gives the next participant a bounded piece of work they can inspect, understand, and build on. That's exactly why keeping the work well scoped remains so important. State the current objective clearly. Ask the agent to move that objective forward. Then make the handoff requirement part of the definition of where this particular session should stop. This is also something worth experimenting with. Different code bases may respond better to different task structures or prompt formats. So pay attention to what produces understandable results and refine the instruction over time. The stable principle doesn't change. Don't let an open-ended request encourage uncontrolled expansion. Ask for meaningful progress inside the stated scope, and then ask the agent to prepare that progress for continuation. A session can deliver real value without pretending that the entire larger task has somehow been finished. Step 3 is requiring a clean continuation point and then verifying it through the workflow. Ask the agent to leave the repository clean for whoever continues. But don't make that request in isolation. Pair it with the signals already available from automated tests, version control, and rapid feedback. The goal here is clarity. The next participant should be able to see what changed, understand the current point of progress, and keep moving without first untangling ambiguity that could have been avoided. There's an important boundary to remember, though. A clean repository by itself doesn't guarantee that the work is correct or complete. Automated tests provide valuable feedback, but the verified findings still don't justify treating any one signal as proof of perfection. That's not what this pattern is claiming to do. The clean handoff pattern is about making work inspectable and resumable. So, at the end of a session, look for 4 specific qualities. Was the progress incremental? Did automated tests provide feedback? Is the version control state clear? And is the repository clean for whoever continues? Taken together, those 4 qualities create a much stronger stopping point. The common mistake is treating generation as if it were the entire workflow. AI-generated code may show up quickly, sometimes very quickly, but generation is still only one part of software development. A clean handoff prompt becomes much less effective when nothing around it supplies meaningful feedback. So use AI to strengthen fast feedback practices, including pull request review and automated testing. A better mental model is a loop. Begin with a scoped assignment, generate one increment, obtain automated feedback, review the result, then prepare the handoff. From there, the next session can run through that same loop again, starting from a clearer state. This framing keeps your attention on how changes move through the development process, rather than focusing only on how much code was produced. It also makes the importance of the end of session instruction easier to see. The agent isn't simply stopping because time is up. It's preparing its output to re-enter an ongoing cycle of review, feedback, and further work. Faster generation becomes far more useful when it reinforces that cycle instead of trying to replace it. Now, we can put the reusable end of session pattern together. Within the stated scope, ask the coding agent to make incremental progress on the current assignment. Then ask it to use the repository's automated feedback and version control practices to evaluate that progress. Finally, before it stops, ask it to leave the repository clean and make the continuation point clear for whoever works on it next. A concise version could read like this: within this scope, make incremental progress on the current assignment. Use the available automated feedback and version control practices to evaluate the change. Before stopping, leave the repository clean and the continuation point clear for whoever continues. That wording is an adaptation of the verified findings. It's not an invented universal quotation from a source. You should adjust the exact task and scope to match your own repository. The essential sequence is straightforward. Scope the work, advance it incrementally, obtain feedback, clarify the state, and prepare the handoff. That's the pattern. It's concise enough to reuse, but it still gives the agent a clear objective for the end of the session. Use this pattern on your next well-scoped assignment and then check what it actually produces. Ask 4 questions. First, was the progress incremental? Second, did automated tests provide feedback? Third, is the version control state clear? And fourth, is the repository clean for whoever continues? If any one of those answers is unclear, refine the task or adjust the prompt format, then try it again. The goal isn't to discover one magical universal sentence. It's to develop a concise handoff instruction that works with the real practices in your code base. Keep AI connected to rapid feedback, pull request review, and automated testing instead of treating generation as the whole workflow. Over repeated sessions, experimentation can show you which wording works best and which task boundaries lead to clearer continuation points. And the final payoff is pretty straightforward: a short end of session instruction, backed by a simple verification checklist, can make multi-session AI development easier to inspect, easier to understand, and much easier to resume. You're not forcing artificial completion. You're creating a dependable place for the work to continue. If this helped you build a more dependable AI development workflow, subscribe to Neural Stack and share the handoff check you consider essential in the comments.